Hey, welcome to CKLU 96.7. This is your host, Jess, coming in for an hour of Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. I'm one of the co-founders of ourcreator.com. You can check there for all sorts of updates on different things that are happening in our city, people you should know about, businesses you should check out, activities going on around town. People like to say there's nothing to do in Sudbury, but we want to prove them wrong. So you can check us out, of course, direct on our webpage, ourcreator.com. That's OURCRATER. You can also look us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, to keep up to date with what we are doing around town. So this week we have on the show a special guest. Her name is Tessa Gooden. She is an R&B artist. She grew up here in Sudbury, has now relocated herself to Toronto, where she's kind of right in the center of all this kind of amazing I guess you could say rising of this R&B hip-hop culture among Canadian music. So she's definitely right in the epicenter, right where she needs to be to make a splash, and we're so ready for it. So Tessa, you might be familiar, like me, with her through her work with Yes Theater. So that's how I became familiar with her. Notably, you might remember her performing as Mary Magdalene in Jesus Christ Superstar that they did a few years ago. Did a completely sold-out run. And then they did a second run of it the following year. So she was Mary Magdalene in both those productions. So that's how you might remember her. But this is how you know she's a real, true Sudbury girl. Whenever I mention her name for some reason, half the time people don't recognize her necessarily from entertainment. They say, oh yeah, she went to Marymount. So Tessa Gooden, she went to Marymount. She's a genuine Sudbury. But she's been hard at work over in Toronto, working on all sorts of music. She's released a few EPs already, but just at the beginning of the month she released her latest single, Come Up for the Weekend. So she just on the Friday that passed, on the 4th, she hosted a single release party at Supermarket in Kensington Market in Toronto. She had a great turnout for that, played a bunch of her new music, and so we're going to talk more with her about that, and as well as the new single and other projects she's been working on. She's just about next week to head to Rotterdam to perform in New School Music Festival. So we're going to hear all about that. So tune in, listen in as we get all the details. Tessa, welcome to the show. So we've been following your adventures for quite a while now, starting with your first USA tour back in 2006, the release of your first EP, Blackwater, your second EP, Quake. We were even lucky enough to have you perform for us at our official launch party a few summers ago. But today we're here to talk about another brand new release of yours, your new single, Come Up for the Weekend. And we were also able to get your producer for the album, Peter Balazin, to talk about what's coming up. So Tessa and Peter, tell us about the new single. It was just released on the 1st and all your standard streaming services. So tell us about the song, and when did you know that this was kind of going to be the one to launch your whole newest release with?
Well, Come Up for the Weekend, I think, really sets the tone for the record, because I've kind of taken a shift from the old, ballad slow jams that I was producing before, and that really alternative R&B vibe, and now we're going with more of a really cool upbeat retro pop R&B kind of sound, and Come For The Weekend is just a super, super fun song, really, really cool for the summer too, definitely makes you want to dance and just be in the sun. So I thought, the timing was right, and it also just, as I said, kind of sets the tone to introduce people to the new sound that we've created with this record. So that's kind of how Come Up for the Weekend became the first single.
Yeah, for sure. Peter, did you have any thoughts on that? Was there a moment where you kind of were like, yeah, this is definitely the one that we need to lead off with?
I feel like while we were making it, we really knew we put so much into making the song. There's so many ups and downs. There's so many dynamics. There's no part in the song that you stop moving, and there's nothing where you're like, maybe I'll skip to the next song. We have people's attention throughout the entire song.
Mm-hmm. It keeps that momentum through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, you guys just hosted your single release party over the weekend in Toronto on the 4th for Come Up for the Weekend. So can you tell us about how that went?
It was awesome, actually. We had the venue Supermarket and Kensington Market. They were so awesome. We had a little bit of an industry premixer with some food and different industry people, whether it be labels, music supervisors. It was a really, really great time. And then we had a couple of openers, a good friend of ours, Sarah Keith, who we're also producing for, and Condo Moss, who's from Detroit. And he actually was on tour with me when I went through the U.S. and we played South by Southwest together. So we just thought it would be really cool to reconnect and have him out in Toronto. And then, yeah, it was an awesome turnout, such a great time. The band is just amazing. Like, we're still definitely on a high from that show, and just like watching videos and taking things in before we head out onto the road again.
Yeah.
It was great. It was so great. And the support for the record is amazing, and the support for, us live there was awesome.
Absolutely. It must have felt great to finally perform all these things that you've been working so hard on, too.
Oh, for sure. We've been crafting this song for about a year and the album for a year, so it was really, really exciting to finally let it out on the audience and see them dance, and everybody was having a great time, so we were really happy.
Yeah, for sure. Now, speaking of the new album, so can you tell us what you've been working on and when we can finally hear it?
Well, yeah, the fall is when, yeah, so we're kind of going through the motions with with a publicist and things just to promote the album properly, now that we've released the first single. But it's got that same upbeat, fun vibe. It's, how many tracks? Eight tracks. So it's the first full-length album I really ever released, because, as you said, I released 2 EPs. So this was, it took about a year for us to write everything and create a good base for what we wanted the album to sound like. And now, finally, that we know what direction we're going in, it's really just like final touches on everything before the album comes out in the fall. So, yeah, it's going to be great. Mostly danceable stuff. One very heart-wrenching ballad, because I can't, skip out on a good ballad. But
I can't help it. You have emotions.
Exactly. That's what I told the crowd at the show.
Oh, man. So, Peter, how long have you been working with Tessa?
Since January of last year.
Okay.
We've been songwriting. We just really have the same influences. We have the same creative tastes. So when we started working together, it was really hard to find someone that has the same likes and you can really vibe with on a chemistry level. And we started working together. The songs just started coming out, and then we started learning and really perfecting our production chops. So we've just been spending every moment together working on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely in a creative process. It's finding somebody that you have that kind of chemistry with. It's an invaluable thing. You can't replicate that.
Exactly.
So now you have, Tessa, you have the opportunity, you're going to be representing Canada at a New School Music Festival in Amsterdam, and you had the opportunity to do this last year as well. So can you tell us more about how this all came about?
Yeah, so New School Rules is a really cool festival. It's one of the biggest hip-hop R&B conferences in the world. And last year I was fortunate enough to go and represent Canada through SEMA, which is the Canadian Independent Music Association. So they basically do Canadian exporting. They specialize in taking Canadian acts and bringing them overseas to expose them to other audiences. So that was really cool to be able to go with them last year. And then this year just apply to the festival and get in, because last year was a success and they just knew me. So other artists get an opportunity to go through SEMA this year, which is really cool. So yeah, we'll be playing 2 shows in Rotterdam, which is about 40 minutes outside of Amsterdam. One fun club show and one outdoor stage show, which is going to be really fun.
Nice, yeah. Now, is there a collection of people from Canada coming to perform at the festival, or?
Yeah, so SEMA this year is bringing, I believe, there's a R&B showcase portion and then there's a hip-hop showcase as well. So they have 2 different nights. I believe they're showcasing 5 to 7 artists each night. And then the festival itself has also picked up on several other Canadian artists. So I think there might be like upwards of 12 to 18 Canadian acts going this year, which is amazing. It just goes to show you how far Canada's coming along in this genre specifically, because like we're typically known for our rock music, and that's kind of what has been represented, you know, even at award shows and things. But this year it's been a little bit different, and there's been a shift, and there's like, you know, what people are streaming, what people are listening to on their own time, and even who's winning awards. So R&B and hip hop are getting a really good light in Canada, which is great, and giving us an opportunity to travel overseas with it is even better.
Absolutely. So is there do you feel like there's kind of an excitement of this being in this kind of industry and in this genre at this time?
Yeah, I think this is like one of the biggest and most important times for, you know, hip hop and R&B in Canada. You know, obviously with people like Drake and The Weeknd kind of dominating the charts, it is a good stepping stone for other artists to be able to break through, because, you know, a huge part of the music industry now is Spotify playlists and that type of, you know, exposure through playlisting. And so being in this genre and those being the biggest streamed acts, it's you're more likely to get picked up in that way, and, you know, end up getting a lot of streams and listens on Spotify through those means. So, yeah, it's a really good time, you know, as long as you are doing all the right things and being in the right places and getting to know people and playing as much as you can. This is a good time to play, you know, R&B, hip hop, like alternative pop and things like that.
Absolutely. So now, can you tell us where we can find the single, as well as where we can find updates on what your release coming up?
Yeah, so the single is on almost every platform, so you can get it on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, what are the other ones? Google Play, Amazon, Tidal, like almost everything. So that is basically international and live everywhere. We don't have a solid release date for the rest of the album, but I do believe we're going to be releasing another single before the whole album comes out. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, you can get Over the Weekend everywhere, and the next single will come out probably within the next month or so, which is going to be really exciting as well.
Awesome. So we're going to head into music here. We're going to finally let the audience hear this new single you've been talking about, and then we'll be back very shortly to talk to you a little bit more about what you've been working on here. Hey there, welcome back to the studio. We are live today, talking with this hour with Tessa Gooden. So she's been working hard on a new album, new release. We just spoke with her in our first half all about that. So in just a moment, we are going to play some of her music. We're definitely going to play that single in question and a few other things. But first, spotlight on a few things going on this weekend. If you don't have any plans yet, you can check out Voices for Women. They're presenting a She Rocks event. So in support of Voices for Women, which provides so many important resources to victims of sexual assault. And so we definitely want to support them. It's $40 a ticket plus service charge. They've assembled an amazing lineup of female talent at the Grand. So that's Friday, May 11th. You can look them up on Facebook to find the Eventbrite link to go get the tickets. Or if you want more information, we also wrote an article about it on ourcreator.com, so you can check that out there. As well, if you're feeling a little thrifty, Sudbury Indie Cinema Co-op is hosting a yard sale at their 162 Mackenzie Street location. That's going to be from 9 to 4 on Saturday. So if you're feeling a little thrifty, head down there, see what you can find. After that, if you maybe wanted to see what kind of literature you could pick up for the rest of your weekend, there's Expo Zine Sudbury. This is a second edition. So this is the zine festival at Fromagerie Elgin from 10 to 3. This is, so if you don't really sure what a zine is, it's a little bit hard to describe. It's sort of a mix of a personal writing, sort of a mix of informative writing, but also sort of a scrapbook, you could say. So they're all a little bit different, but definitely go check it out, see what you can find. And as well, you can always check out the Townhouse. They'll definitely have lots of shows going on this weekend at Grace Family Church. Hardy Cannon is hosting Weaves, Little You, Little Me, Tofino, and Dirty Princes. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, you can check that out. So let's go into music here now. So we're going to first play Tessa's single that she just released, that we've been talking with her about. We're going to play one of her releases from her last few albums as well. So we've got Come Up for the Weekend by Tessa, So Close, and then we'll have Pressure as well by Tessa. So listen in. Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured. Hey there, we're back in the studio on CKLU 96.7. This is Creator Conversations. This hour we've been talking with Tessa Gooden. She just released a new single, Come Up for the Weekend, which we just played for you. So we had a bit of a throwback here, so we kind of replayed in reverse a few singles that she's had over the last couple of years. So that was Come Up for the Come Up for the Weekend. That was just released on the 1st. Then we have So Close, that was from her last EP, and Pressure, that was from her first single. So a little bit of a throwback there. So let's do a little shout out here to what's on ourcreator.com right now. So if you take a look on our site, ourcreator.com, you can take a look at a few articles. There's Spring at Science North if you're thinking about heading down there to see what's new. You can also check out one of our new series that we're going to be running right now. It's called Maker Mondays. So every Monday we'll have an interview with a different Sudbury maker of some sort. This week it was Jillian Schultz. So we got all the information about that as well. We talked about this before we went to the music, but She Rocks is an event that is going on Friday the 11th. That is in support of Voices for Women. They've got a great lineup of all sorts of female talent performing, and all the proceeds go towards Voices for Women, that provides all sorts of important services for victims of sexual assault in order to recover. We can also Cinco de Mayo. It was last Saturday, but who knows? You could celebrate any day. We had a roundup of a few places that you could celebrate Cinco de Mayo last weekend. Shop local. We've got a spotlight here on Nickel City Beard Blends. They are a brand new, all natural, small batch beard blend company. So they've got balms and oils and these really nifty little sandalwood combs. If you're listening live right now, you can head straight to the Our Creator Facebook page, and we are running a contest and being drawn May 9th. So that's tomorrow, to win your very own trio pack to get yourself started. So it includes a mocha mint beard oil that I bet smells delicious, and a stud muffin beard balm with the sandalwood comb to get you on the go with your beard grooming routine. So we're going to talk more with Tessa here, hear about what she's been working on, as well as a few of the things that she's kind of been running into lately, and so we're going to hear about some of her influences here. So just listen in, and we'll be back soon. All right, so we are back for the second half of our hour this week. We were talking with Tessa Gooden, as well as her producer Peter Balaz. So Tessa, this is your third time in the studio. So you previously released your Blackwater EP as well as your Quake EP. So how did you feel? Did you feel there was a difference in the way that you prepared going into the studio now that you've had more experience?
Definitely. This is the first album really where everything has been in our own hands. For the previous records, I've relied on other people a lot to craft the sound. Obviously, I was the primary songwriter on everything, but as far as the direction we were going with genre and just the overall sound of the records. I didn't have as much of an influence on those aspects of the album, which really is what led me to move on to working with different people almost on every project. And this is the first time where I find I have enough knowledge and gear and equipment and resources to actually craft something really great on our own, like between Peter and I, because he's a really talented musician as well. And as he said before, like we really clicked as far as the songwriting as well. So it's like this is the first record I can honestly say is 100% authentically me as far as the content. No really real thought into what do other people want to hear from me, what subjects should I write about. It's more just been like pretty autobiographical things that have gone on in my life, and the sound kind of just like followed through with those feelings and topics that I wanted to, speak about on my own behalf. So yeah, it's more like heart on the sleeve type of record for sure.
Do you find that the creative and writing process has gotten easier as you've had more experience, or is it kind of always the same struggle?
To be honest, like it's probably way more difficult because you're so critical of because it's all you, and really you don't have anybody. I'm not saying you don't have anybody else to blame, but you don't have anybody else to consult with on what you might agree with or disagree with as far as the way the record sounds or the way the writing is going. It's a little bit more difficult because you know that at the end of the day, if there's something that you don't like or if there's something you'd want to change, it's all because of something you've done, right? So it's been a big challenge, and I think that's why this record has taken us a year. The other records I've done have only really been like a couple months in the making, and it's because of us just learning more things and applying different techniques and tools and instruments and, different resources to our record. So, yeah, I think it's gotten harder, but, I guess easier in the sense that at least you have creative control over everything, so you can make necessary changes. You can take all the time you need. You're not under a deadline and under somebody else's thumb with that type of stuff. So I guess it has its pros and cons, but the major pro is obviously that everything stays 100% authentic to you as an artist, which is really important to me, especially right now.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Now, I heard a rumor that you got to break out your cello for one of your songs on this new album. And some people might remember you playing cello from around Sudbury back in the day. So how was it revisiting that?
It was honestly amazing. I love the cello. I've had one since I was 16, and it's still, it's pretty unusable at this point. It basically sits as decor in our apartment, in our studio, but we rented one for this record, and I was, to be honest, so happy we were just recording because I've got this like insane manicure that's super long, and I remember Alexandra Lee was one of my teachers, and when I went into her classes, she would just like hold out her nail clipper that was attached to her keychain and be like, cut your nails before we start this lesson. And I'd be like, okay, because like I just always kind of hated cutting my nails down. And because I haven't been playing as much now, I've taken for granted that, there's that type of grooming involved in playing the cello. So I was like, this is going to have to be a very slow and steady and, patient process because I'm not going to be able to play awesomely, but that's kind of the beauty of recording. It's like I can't sacrifice the nails. Like, please let me just do this slow and steady. And thankfully, Peter has a lot of patience with me. So it worked out.
By note.
Note by note.
It was awesome.
So, Peter, how was the process of this whole album creating this kind of a brand new experience for Tessa, having so much control in the studio, and perhaps maybe even a new experience for you to have so much control too?
Yeah, it is a critical process because, after you spend so much time working on a project, you start to not believe your own ears and your own mind. You question whether something's good or not because you've listened to it for so long. So it's definitely difficult because we did write it And then we went into the studio, and now we're trying to produce it, and we're trying to find the right sounds and trying to take all of our influences and listen to modern music right now on the radio and going, okay, so how can we apply this, and how can we find this technique and make it sound this way? But the record itself, I find, is the perfect combination of organic instrumentation and machines. So it's synth, but it's also like Tessa's playing the cello, I'm playing guitar, I'm playing bass guitar. We're doing keys, we're doing all these different things, but we're also adding synthesizers. So it's a nice blend, and we're taking all of our favorite artists. We're taking Pharrell, we're taking Justin Timberlake, Michael Jackson, all those guys. And we just created this really fun, dancey, but also very intricate project.
So now you've had the opportunity to play quite a few really incredible venues around Toronto and obviously further as well. Do you find that people are, when they find out that you have this Northern Ontario connection, that they're kind of surprised to find you there?
It's actually so true. They are absolutely shocked to find out where I'm from. How long, did you grow up in Toronto? Actually, no, I'm from Sudbury. And they're like, wow. Well, and often they say they feel sorry for me. But honestly, I don't think they really understand that I wouldn't be the musician I am if it wasn't for Sudbury and the training that I got in Sudbury. And, I wouldn't even be as good at networking or organizing events or making connections if it wasn't for the work that we did with the S Theater. And, all of the awesome opportunities that I had in Sudbury, we were kind of like community builders in a way, and bringing that mentality to Toronto, that it can be very saturated, and there's a lot of people making music, and there are a lot of people who are good at making music, but they're not good at all of the aspects of the business that are really important to actually create a career out of this, So when they say that, I'm honestly like, you've no idea. It's actually great. I just had to, I took the skills that I learned in Sudbury and I just apply them here, and it gives me an advantage over a lot of people because there are a lot of people trying to do the same thing as we are. So I'm super grateful for Sudbury, but people are usually surprised, even just because of the way I look, I guess.
Oh, weird. Do you feel like being from Northern Ontario kind of gives you like an extra drive? Like you really feel that you have to prove yourself?
Honestly, I find that we've accomplished so much, even in Northern Ontario, that this was just really a next step for me. It was just like, how much more can I actually do from Sudbury? And we had done so much there already and played all of the venues we could have possibly played, that if I wanted to get more international exposure, it just kind of started here, because I still love being at home. I'm playing at Pat Mario's in June 13th, if anyone's around. We're still going to be around. Also, we're planning our release party for Sudbury at some point. I've been talking with a couple of venues. So it's not that we're strangers to Sudbury, but it's honestly being here is just more of an intense grind. I think being at home, you can get a little bit more comfortable just sitting back and not working as hard because you've got so much security. Whereas here, it's you're really working. Everything is extremely expensive. Rent is expensive. All of these things are, factors in how hard you tend to work. So I just say we get a lot more done, and my lifestyle tends to be healthier and I can stay more focused. So it does obviously motivate me a lot, but because I don't want to, leave this place, and I really love being in Toronto, and I hope to, travel more and see more places, and I just don't think that being in Sudbury is the way to go with that. Mm-hmm. But I love being in Sudbury and sharing my music with Sudbury and coming back to play. So I like having the best of both worlds.
Yeah, why not?
Unless in the wintertime. It was Peter's first winter in Sudbury, and he was in shock.
Yeah,
oh, no, Peter, what was your review?
I made the mistake. I came in Toronto so I came in Chuck Taylor Converses. I didn't bring a hat. I didn't bring gloves. I was like, I'm not going to ruin my hair when I go up there. I need to look good. So I went up there, and it was really, really cold. And it was just screams, pain, excruciating screams. But I thought I was going to get frostbite if I stayed out any longer.
Wow. So Tessa, you mentioned the possibility of a hometown release show show coming up and a performance as well coming up in June at Pat Mario's. Can you tell us some more details about that?
Yeah, so I've been chatting with people at the townhouse and just kind of locking down some dates for our hometown show. Obviously, the single's already out, so it would be more just like coming home and showing people the new album, because we have been performing almost every song from the album when we do our live shows, so it's a good way to hear what's going on. So looking into that, as well as Pat and Mario's, they do live music on Wednesdays, and they reached out to me to come home to do a show. So June 13th is when I'll be coming, and I guess I'll be playing during dinner, I think 7 to 10, which will be really cool. I love Pat Mario's too. That's in my neighborhood, so I know a lot of the folks, and obviously the food is insanely good. So if anybody is looking to go out that night, I will be there, and I will be playing my original tunes. We'll be playing some covers. It'll be a really good time.
Absolutely. Great. Now, we're going to give you here a chance for you to play DJ. So, Tessa, I want actually you and Peter both. Can you guys give me 3 recommendations that you think I should play to close out our show?
Yes, okay.
I think we should do PYT by Michael Jackson.
Oh, definitely. That was a huge influence on our record. So PYT Michael Jackson is great. What else should we play? I think we should play some Anderson .Paak, because he's epic and a huge influence to us as well. Maybe Put Me Through by Anderson .Paak, if you could find a radio clean version of that. What else? And one more song.
Maybe Slide by Calvin Harris.
Yes, Calvin Harris is another huge influence, and we're dying to go to Vegas to check him out in the summer, because he plays at a bunch of really cool clubs, and his new records have been a really big influence on us, as far as where pop tends to be going right now, and that like funky sound that's coming back.
That's where we're getting all the electronic kind of influences from.
Yeah, Slide is probably a big one. That was our soundtrack of the summer when we were writing all of these records. So yeah.
Nice. Great. So thanks for talking with us today, guys. Before we close out, can you just give us one more time where you can find the single and additional information about shows coming up?
Yeah, so you can find the single on Spotify. Just search Tessa, come up for the weekend. Also on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, everywhere. You can head to our website, www.tessa-music.com. You'll find links to all of our social media and links to what we're always posting where we'll be playing next. So our next show will be in Europe. We land on May 17th, and then we'll be there until the 25th. So far we're going to London, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Prague, and Luxembourg, which is really exciting.
Wow.
And then we'll be back, and the day after we return, we play with Peter's other band, Running Violet. Actually, we're going to the Muskokas to play the Water Ski Team Canada Championship. Which I'm super excited, just like Europe to the cottage. I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad life at all. And then I guess after that, we're preparing for coming to Sudbury to play at Pat and Mario's. So yeah, that's what our next month is looking like.
Excellent. Well, we can't wait to catch some of your shows. Well, thanks for talking with us today, and we'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
All right. Hey, welcome back to the studio. So we just finished out talking with Tessa Gooden this hour. So we heard all about her new single, Come Up for the Weekend. And so you can keep an eye out for the album that goes with that coming up sometime in the fall. No official date yet, but stay posted. You can look her up on Facebook and on Twitter to keep up to date. And she's also going to be leaving next week to head overseas and going to all sorts of fun places. So we're really excited to see where she keeps going here. So we're going to go into some music and we're going to hear some of her influences. So she requested here Put Me Through by Anderson .Paak, PYT by Michael Jackson, and Slide by Calvin Harris. So we're going to start with Put Me Through by Anderson .Paak. I got to give you a warning here. This one's got an explicit label on it. So if you need to change the station, now's the time. Thanks for tuning in to Creator Conversations presented by Our Creator. We can't play the music right here, but check out below for the link to this week's playlist, as well as all the links you need for this week's guest. Make sure you're subscribed to Our Creator on all your feeds. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under Our Creator, and use the hashtag Our Creator to be featured. Hey, welcome back to CKLU 96.7. So we're about to sign off here on this hour of Creator Conversations. So we have been talking today with Tessa Gooden and her producer Peter Balaz as well. So they were kind enough to sit down with us so we could talk to her about her new single, going on tour in Europe. So all very exciting things that are going on for Tessa right now. So you can keep an eye out for her album that should be coming out sometime in the fall, as well as another single that'll be released within the next month or so, she's saying. So definitely looking forward to hearing all about that. Remember, you can catch past episodes of Creator Conversations if you check out ourcreator.com. You can look for the YouTube videos there. So every interview has an accompanying playlist on Spotify, as well as the YouTube link for the full interview. So stay tuned here to 6 Degrees on CKLU. I'm signing off for the night, but stay tuned in for 6 Degrees that'll be on right in a moment.